It's recording. So, welcome to part 2 of the AWS series. And today we're going to talk about the second topic of the series, which is Identity and Access Management, or IAM. And this is the icon for it. So, let's check it out. Oh, sorry. Let's check it out when we open the console and we write IAM, even though it's here, but let's write IAM. You can see that the icon is the same. Okay. So we're gonna give a brief introduction. We're gonna talk about key features, and we're gonna talk about core components, MFA or multi-factor authentication. We're gonna give best practices. I think we're gonna give best practices all over the series. So even at the EC2 series, we're gonna give some of the best practices, and we're gonna give a brief hands-on lab at the end. So, what's IAM? Quite literally. So, what is Identity and Access Management? So, it is a service that enables you to control and access or control access your AWS resources, your users, your groups by managing permissions and roles. So, we're gonna check the components of IAM, and we're going to notice that we have users, as you can see here, we have groups, and we have the permission to allow or deny, not just access, like there is a lot, and we're going to see the policy generator, and we're going to use it. Okay, so why do we need IAM, and what's the importance of IAM in cloud security? So IAM is one of cloud security concepts or services. So we're gonna talk about it. Of course, there is more than these three. I just gave the most important three. So centralized access control. So AWS IAM is like everything you need for security that is related to users and group and roles and permissions. You're gonna find it there. So it gives you like a centralized place to control your resources, your groups, and everything. Of course, this is the principle of least privilege. This is one of the principles that can come up at the exam, and you need to understand. So the principle of least privilege is you just give your users the permissions they need, not more, not less. You just give them what they need. And AWS IAM helps you with that, as there's this thing called a granular permission. So you can give the specific permission to the things you need to do. And we're going to see that when also we're going to use our policy generator, and when we understand the policy structure and how it's made. Also, identity federation is one of the concepts that came up at the exam. So identity federation is basically, I don't like reading, but I'm gonna tell you. So let's imagine we have a lot of systems, like 5 systems, and a software developer needs to access these 5 systems. So you have to create a password and username for every system for that same user. So Identity Federation helps you to not create 5 usernames and 5 passwords along these 5 systems. It's gonna let you use one username and one password to access these 5 systems. So that's an example of Identity Federation. So it allows to handle guests that are coming to AWS. It also allows the same thing we have talked about, the 5 systems, and it supports, I think, YAML or SAML. Is it SAML or YAML? And it supports open authentication or OAuth. Yes. So Identity Federation, and it has like a lot of concepts and a lot of things. I just gave like a brief introduction, but please try and dig deeper about Identity Federation. Ask ChatGPT to give you more about Identity Federation. It's an important concept. Okay, so we have 3 ways when we want to open the console. We have something called an AWS CLI, which is how we open it, like always, or not the CLI, sorry, the console. So we open the console. This is the console as we can see here, we have the AWS CLI or command line interface, which is this one right here. It's Cloud Shell. Also, you can download. I think there is a possibility to download AWS. I'm trying to remember what's called, but I think that there's AWS CLI, so you can download. Yes, you can download CLI, and then you can access it using your own command line interface. So yeah, this is how you can do it. So you actually AWS shell, and you can download it, and then you can start using AWS using the shell, or when we learned Linux. So when we learned Linux, you can do that using AWS CLI, which is like AWS. Let's try this. This is not the CLI, this is Cloud Shell. It's just an example. So let's check AWS S3. Yes, so there's a lot of things. So let's try AWS S3 subcommands and parameters. Yes, we have to like give it a name and give it a lot of things. So let's say AWS S3 help. I think it's gonna give us this. So here's the description, and here's the path type argument. So I want to like go down. Here you can see how you can like give a lot of stuff about the arguments. Okay, Q. Okay, so this is Cloud Shell, and this is the console. And if we downloaded the CLI show, we can use AWS. Hello, Sabine. Okay. So
I have a
also we
question
have.
actually.
Okay, that was weird.
Sorry for the مقاطعة.
Yeah, أهلا أحمد.
يعطيك العافية، أنا لي قاطع فترة بس. سؤال، هلا
Yeah,
ال AWS سجلته أغلبكم موقع؟
شو
في الموقع ال AWS سجلته فتحت حساب؟
يعني بالاكونت قصدك بالكونسول؟ لا لسه.
طب
I'm
إحنا
just
كيف نشتغل؟ لأني ما بعرف أستخدمه صراحة.
okay. هلا what I was trying to do or think that I may give you an account maybe using the academy, but until now I'm gonna use my own account until like I get my hands on the academy. So if you wanna like log in using your account, but I don't prefer to be honest. But if you want, so there's this thing called AWS free tier account. So you can have a free account for 1 year, but not for all services. So you have a few services. So here are available on free tier. So there's a few stuff that are always free, like DynamoDB, and you can see here Lambda, cost to Code Whisperer. But you may have like a few problems with signing in, so buffer verification may take a long time to do so, and you're gonna use a credit card. So those are like the two bad things of having your own account.
أوكي got it. أوكي
I'm sorry صوتك ما كان مسموع.
خلص، فهمت. أنتوا بتضبطوني عادي.
There's a problem with your voice. I don't know. Is it from my headphones, or is it your voice? I don't know. To be honest, I'm sorry. So please, I didn't
Can you
understand
hear
that
me right
last.
now?
Yes, perfect.
I said, can you make it just happen or anything?
Can I make what?
The AWS account, like from your university or anything they can
Yes,
give?
I need to have an academy. I don't have an academy right now, but when I have an academy, I'll provide you with accounts. But even if I had the academy accounts, the IAM to be specific are denied, so you can't do anything on the academy using IAM, any this specifically or this lecture specifically. And there's a lot of restriction on the academy, so Like you don't have the accessibility to do whatever you want.
Okay, okay.
Yes. Okay, so we have three ways of opening AWS. We have talked about the console, we have talked about the CLI, which is a shell that you download, as you can see here. And we have an AWS SDK. So AWS SDK is software development kit. It's for code. It's like, so let's here open SDK. Yeah, I think it's a code. So here we can see about AWS SDKs, and it's how you can SDK for C++, for JavaScript, for Java. So this is how you can connect and use AWS using three ways. So to use CLI and SDK, you use something that's called an access key. So an access key ID is a username and a private access key is the password. And these protect the CLIs and SDKs. So if we remember when we created an EC2 instance and then we've created a key pair or a access key, it's kind of like the same. So as we said here, an access key ID is the username and a private access key ID is the password. So if we went to IAM, or I'm gonna leave it to the end. I don't want to do any hands-on labs. I'll leave it to the end. Okay, so let's talk about key features. Let's talk about its core functionalities and benefits. So we have a few. As we said, it's centralized control of AWS account, all related to security. We have talked about granular permission that you can be very specific when doing your permissions. Also, we talked about identity federation and temporary security credentials. We can use this in roles, integration with other AWS services, and we're going to check these out, secure access to AWS resources, and we're going to talk more about multi-factor authentication and auditing and compliance. So these are the future benefits of IAM. Okay, so core components, what can we do in IAM? So what is it made of? So if we talked about identity and access management, it's made out of four components, and we're gonna check these out. So first thing, it's made out of users, it's groups, it's policies, and this is the icon for policies and roles. So a cap. Okay, so users are basically users. So it's a unique identities for individuals or applications. This is users. A group is a collection of users with a shared permission, and policies are JSON documents defining permissions, and roles are permissions for access without sharing credentials. So let's talk a little bit about roles. So let's say we have a coffee shop. So yes, but you can do a lot on the console app, to be honest. I have tried it. It's like you don't have the accessibility to do everything using the app. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So let's say we have a bari or a cashier. Why did I write it this way? Okay. So let's say we have a cashier right here, and this is our guy. So let me like draw him. I'm gonna try and draw him. Okay, this is our guy. This is our cashier. And let's say they had a problem in the inventory. So in the back, so problem in inventory. I have forgot the M. That's fine. Okay, so we have a problem in the inventory and the manager is not here, and the manager told the cashier, go to the inventory and let's see. So the cashier doesn't have access, so no access to inventory. But he needs to go there because the manager is not here. So what the manager will do is he's gonna give him a permanent role So permanent of let's say permanent. So permanent role to be maybe like a 1 day of, let's say that he has gives him access for 1 day, so access for 1 day in the inventory. But even if he gave him access for 1 day for the inventory, he's still a cashier. So he didn't change or share any kind of credentials. He's still a cashier. So yes, exactly. So even though this cashier is still a cashier, he didn't share any kind of credential. He got a permanent role of accessing the inventory for 1 day, and this is called a role in AWS. So role. Okay. So role are temporary access, as you can see here, temporary. Oh, sorry. Temporary permissions for access without sharing credentials. So it's the cap. Whenever you give the cap to someone, he can have these kind of permissions without the share of or without the need of share the credentials. Okay, so we have another concept of IAM policy inheritance. So let me remove all of these and let's talk about inheritance. So let's imagine we have like 3 groups or 2 groups, let's say. Let me do another one right here beside it. Okay. And this group are, let's say, developers, which they develop, and this group is, let me think of something. Let's say UX UI designing, I guess. So let's say that here we have Jeff, and where we have Omar. And we have third one who is in between, which is John. So John, he's a developer and oh sorry. And uh an UX UI designer. Okay. So John, he is a UX and UI designer and a developer. So should we create another group called developer and UX UI designer? No. We just add John right here. So John, we add him right here, and we add John right here. Sorry, and we can add John right here. So we have John in both groups. And then we're gonna have like this third thing, which is in between, that is developer plus UI UX. UI UX. And John is gonna be, let's say he's gonna be here. We didn't create any kind of a new group. We just added him to both group, and he inherited the permissions of the developer group, and he inherited the permission of UX UI designer. So he's in between. So this is the inheritance. So as we can understand that users can be added to multiple groups. So maybe a user, maybe he's just a user. So we have one manager. Let's say Sabine is the manager. So Sabine should have admin privileges, and she's alone. So she's like an only user. So she's only one manager, and she only has one admin privileges. So we don't have to add her in any kind of group, even though it's a best practice to add users to groups, but it's not necessary. So inheritance, user can belong to multiple groups. So these groups, users can inherit permissions from the group they are in, as we see here in this drawing right here. Okay, so IAM policy structure, we're gonna have, I think it's called Scribble. So let me find Scribble. So Scribble. Yeah, I need my tools. I need a Scribble. Right. There is, yes, here it is. So Scribble. Here it is. Okay. So we have SID, we have action. Oh, sorry. It just gave me one scribble and that's it. Ooh, let me just copy and paste it on the whiteboard. Okay. So as we can see here, we have SID, we have action, we have the effect, the resource, and the principle. So we have a lot of structures. So this structure, as we can see here, this is called a JSON policy. So from the beginning, this is called a JSON policy. So what is JSON? JSON is something that is called a JavaScript, oops, Java script object notation. So this is a kind of unstructured document. So if we open like JSON, we're gonna see that it is a file format and it's an open standard for format data interchange and a lot of stuff. So it's an unstructured way of handling data, and it's used in NoSQL database like DynamoDB. Okay. So we use JSON policies or JavaScript object notation so we can declare our policies as we can see here. So we have an ID for policy. Yes, so we have here an ID for policy, we have a version, and then we have a statement. So the statement says we have an SID, which is a statement ID. So SID basically is a statement ID. Oh, sorry, statement ID. And then we have the action, like what do we need it to do? So action is gonna tell us what to do. And then we're gonna have these down here that are effect. Effects are either allow or deny. So effect, it's either allow or deny. And resources, it's what resource we're using. So resources is the maybe the S3 bucket we're using. So a service we're using. And last thing, we have the principle. We're gonna like dig deep maybe a little bit more when we check out F3 buckets. So we're gonna understand what's the principles. So I'll leave the hands-on till the end. I'm not gonna like break everything up. So this is a policy structure. This is using JSON, as we said, JavaScript object notation. Okay, so we have this thing that's called MFA, which is multi-factor authentication. It's like the OTP that we have when we're opening our bank systems, when we're maybe opening our Gmail, our Yahoo, or our Facebook, Instagram. We have this number that we get as an SMS or a call. So this is basically MFA. It's an extra layer of security, which is used for users with admin or high privilege access. So it's the best practice to use multi-factor authentication, no matter what kind of privileges you had. But it is a must for admins or high privilege access users, or maybe a root user. So this is the multi-factor authentication. We have devices for it. So AWS MFA MFA. So let's open MFA for IAM. And I think there's keys to use it. There's a lot of stuff. So there is, yes, here, hardware TOTP tokens. So there is a hardware TOTP tokens. There's a lot of stuff, but basically here you can see that in iOS there is Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, Authy. There's Authy. This is, I think, which is used Authy. So Authy. This is Authy. So here we can see that there is multiple stuff for authenticating. Yes. So time-based one-time password, TOTAP algorithm. I can't even say it. Okay. Here you can see that we have to add MFA for root user, which is a must. It's a recommendation. It's a best practice. And you can see here root user has no active keys. So yeah. Okay. So let's go to the best practices part. As you can see here, Mr. Bean is gonna be our guy for today. He's gonna tell us what are the best practices of AWS. So we have talked about least privilege principle, which is giving the user the type of permission he needs, and that's it. No more, no less. Use groups to assign permissions. We have said it is a best practice. Oh, sorry. We said it is a best practice to use groups to assign permissions and to enable multi-factor authentication for privileged users, and then regular review and rotate credentials. So rotating credentials are kind of for keys. Use roles for applications. This is very important. So we use roles for application, monitor and audit IAM activity. So I think we can monitor where it is, yes. CloudTrail. We're gonna talk about CloudTrail. Here we give like a little bit more discussion about the best practices. So least privilege principle is giving the minimum necessary permissions. So minimum necessary permissions. This is also group and roles to simplify permission management, and then monitoring and auditing. So anything that contains monitor and audit, it's used by CloudTrail, and fine-grained permissions. So we can give the kind of permissions we need, and has security posture and temporary credentials using roles. Okay, so let's go to the lab. And before we go to the lab, let's do an S3 bucket. So let's open an S3 bucket. So this is an object storage. I don't want to dig deep in it. I just want to create a bucket. And its general purpose, it has to have a unique name. So let's give it Maya, the tech stuff. I think it's gonna like it's gonna create it. I don't think anyone has this name. Okay, so we have ACL or enabled or disabled, so we don't want that. We can also block public access, or we can allow it. So let me allow public access. We can have bucket versioning. We're gonna talk about these. Bucket keys and encryption type. We're gonna dig deep in them when we go to the S3 part. So there's a lot of S3 stuff you need to know. So yeah, here we have permissions. So if we went to permissions and we have a bucket policy, we're gonna see that there is no kind of policies today. So let's do a policy, and let's go to a policy generator. Here we have the bucket ARN, which is an resource name. So let's go to policy generator, and we can see here how kind of like really specific permissions we can give. So let's go to S3 bucket policy instead of SQS or VPC or IAM or anything else. So principal, we're gonna use a star. So in databases, we know that stars is all. The effect here, as we said, is either allow or deny. So AWS service is yes, AWS service. So it's an S3 bucket, and the actions, we can see here we have a lot of actions. So you can be like very, very specific on doing that. So we only need to do get an object. So put object, it's get object. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Here it is. Okay, so get object, where it is. Where's my get object? Here's object. Okay, great. And then the ARN, which is right here. Let's paste it and add statement. Okay, great. So this is a policy JSON document, JavaScript object notation. We have the ID, the version, the statement, the SID, the action. It is a get object, the effect either allow or deny, and the resource, and we need everything inside of that resource. So let's copy this and paste it in the bucket. Let's paste it. And here, to not forget, we need everything in it. So we're gonna put a slash and a star so it can take all of it. Okay, so save changes. Now we have added the policy in our bucket policy. And we want to do another thing. So I want to make it a website, let's say. So let's go to what's called, so properties. You see here, you can say data events. We can allow CloudTrail to check these stuff out, and static website hosting. So enable host a static website. What is it called? I don't even remember. So let me go and check out the websites I have. Okay. Is it called? It's called HTML/timer. So let's do this. So HTML/timer.html. Okay. So save changes. Now we're gonna upload our, let's go to objects, and we're gonna upload my 3 files, which is CSS, JavaScript. Those are in web development. You really don't need to know these type of stuff. So we have CSS, JavaScript, and HTML, and then we have to upload it. So let me close my Cloud Shell. It's kind of annoying. Okay. Then let's go and check out our link. So let's check this out. I think it's gonna show a timer. Yes. So let's say we need like 1 minute and no seconds, or okay, enter valid time, so 0 seconds. Here we're gonna have a timer of 1 minute. Yes. This is an introduction to Azure lecture, yeah. This is like a very bad website that I did. So this is disable, save changes. I'm gonna remove everything. I don't want, to be honest, these objects. So delete object. We can delete. I don't want to like dig deep, so I'm not gonna say anything about S3 buckets right now. So permanently delete, copy, paste, and delete objects. Okay, close. Okay, so if we went back to IAM policies, so if you went to IAM, now we have a timer for break. After we create like a few users and group, I think we're gonna finish the lecture because it's a really short lecture. Well, maybe I'm not really in for a break. Okay, so here it's gonna give you recommendations as we saw, and you see here that I have user groups, users, roles, and policies. So let's create a group. It's very easy, straightforward. So let's call it S3 admins. We have here EC2 admin. So let's add S3. So here we can see S3 full access. So let's add this. Create user group. So if we opened here S3, we can see that if we went to permissions, we can see that it has S3 full access. Here it is. So S3 full access. He has all kinds of permissions on the S3 bucket. So if created users, so if we want to, I have like admins, I need to delete it. So let's say S3 admin, valid characters, okay. Provide user access to management console, no. We can do that, but I don't want to. And then we're gonna add the user to the group. So let's, okay, cancel, wait. Okay, users in this group. So we can add user. Still haven't created any user. So let's wait next. Oh, I haven't created user. Okay. I'm sorry, S3. So let's add this guy to our group. So let's go to our group, S3 admins, and then add the user we need. So here it is. Let's say we need also EC2 admins to be in this group. So now EC2 admins are gonna have full permission over S3 bucket and EC admins. Let's create the role. It's kind of easy. It's pretty straightforward. So I have like multiple multiple roles for stuff I used to do. So we have either AWS service, SAML. Yes, it's not YAML, it's SAML, I guess. an AWS account, an AWS server. So as we said in our best practices, give applications roles, not policies. So here we can see that we can give maybe, let's say, EC2. Let's see what we can give him. So we can give him access to S3, let's say, let me see, read-only permission. So we only need him to do a read-only permission, and it's called EC2 read-only permission. Okay, so here's the description, and here you can see the same stuff. You can see the effect allow, action assume role, and the principal, and then with the service is EC2, and then we can create role and valid name. Okay, I just entered the space. Okay, we have also created a role, and we can create a policy as we saw here. So if we want back, we can create another policy, IAM policy, okay. And then you can choose whatever service you need. So as you can see here, Redshift, SageMaker, RDS, Quantum Ledger database. We have like a lot of stuff we can do. So let's use Elastic Files. And let it be not put back a policy. So create tags, let him create tags. And we must enter a value or n, Amazon resource name. So we need a file system to do this. So I, I can't like do this. Let me try and do this. ARN, Elastic File System. And then I think we have to like add 3 more. And then EFS, my EFS, and then all. Okay, I don't think this is correct, but why not? So here it is. So you only create tags. This is policies. So we have here ready to use policies. We have 1,224 policies that are ready to use. And that's it, guys. This is for IAM today. So external access, and these are kind of for identity federations. You can like check here IAM, and what can I do? Yeah, I think I have forgot one thing. I think I have forgot access keys. So let me do an access key. Access keys. It's gonna give me an option to create an access key. So remember where I have this option. Okay, if we went down, yes, here it is. So quick links, security credential, manage access keys, multi-factor authentication, all this kind of stuff. So here we can see that we have 0 access keys. Let's create a 1. I want to create an access key. So here we can see that we have a secret access key, which is our password, and then we have our access key, which is our username. So I'm gonna like here it is. So never store your access keys in plain text in a code repository or in a code. Disable or delete when you no longer need it. Enable least privilege permissions and rotate keys regularly. This is in the KMS lecture. I don't think I have entered KMS lecture, but that's fine. We need to add bucket name and ARN. Yes, we do. I didn't choose a bucket ARN. I have choose. So let me remove the access key. Continue without viewing or downloading. Yes, I know. I want to remove it. So delete this access key. I don't need it anymore. So delete. Confirm deletion entry access key. Okay, so let's deactivate it. Then we are gonna remove it, I think, after 30 days or 14 days. Okay. So I think that's it for today. It was a very basic lecture. So It was a brief lecture. There is a lot of learn, but I tried to keep it as much as simple as possible. So let me stop the recording and let's have our Q&A session.